Welcome, time for some art fun. Today I'm going to show you how to easily fill a page in your sketchbook with cuteness, so stick around. Lately I've been super busy working for my, normal job, my non-art tube job, and I also got sick for a while, and it's just been really hard to find time to get into my studio and make art, and that never goes well for me. I need to make art on a fairly regular basis to feel like a human, and it just makes me so happy, especially if I can make something adorable. And so I wanted to share with you what I do when I need a low pressure way to fill a page in the sketchbook, watch some form of color move around on a page, whether that's ink or watercolor. Here I'm using both ink and watercolor. You'll see me with these little vials just dropping ink into little balls of water and letting them move. So that's two different inks there. And then I'm also going to be using my Regina's watercolors, which is this palette you see here, to fill other blobs. And so what I'm going to do is make little puddles of water throughout the page in random shapes. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not trying to make it look any particular way. And just letting the ink or the watercolor move around. If I see some sort of weird pooling, I might pull it in one way or the other, but I'm not thinking of any particular shape when I'm doing this. I'm trying to pick colors that I think will look good together on the page, but you could also do a monochromatic where you just do all different blues or all different pinks, all different greens, all different reds or yellows, where you use different concentrations of the color, so it's a range of values from dark to light of this same color. But I like color, and I like different colors, so I'm in there with all different colors and hope that they end up looking good together. I was happy with how the colors ended up looking. I let these dry once I got them, the piles in kind of the way that I wanted them. I wanted enough water where the colors really separated, especially with the inks. That's what I was just doing there with the bottom two. I'm just adding water so that the ink has even more room to groove and separate. Still not thinking about what I'm going to do with these or a final product. I'm more thinking in terms of that game you played when you were a kid and you would lay on your back and look up at the sky and look at the clouds and try to see shapes in the clouds. That's what I'm going to end up doing with these to make them into actual drawings. So right now I'm just trying to make them look like blobs. And this is what they look like, super wet. And then I'm going to go off camera and dry them. I actually just left these alone and took my dog for like a 25-minute walk and came back and they were still a little wet. And so I used my drying tool to get them dry like this. But as you can probably see with the pink one, it was still so wet that the drying tool had a drip fly off to the side. And so I just flew another drip in the other direction to make kind of a shadow. And that's going to be the shadow of whatever animal goes there. But so you just work with it. I mean, that's the point. You can't really make a mistake with making the blobs. The more interesting variations in there, the better. Like this has, oh gosh, what's that called? Blooms. These are blooms in here with the water. I love that. It's all good. So there are 3 inks. That's an ink, and then the 2 on the bottom are inks, and then the rest are watercolor. So once they're dry like this, I go in with a pen. I started with a micron pen, but I use a white pen, white gel pen. I use a gold gel pen. I use watercolor itself to refine this. You can use anything. If you've already got your watercolors out, you could do what I'm doing here with watercolor and just darken up the areas. But I basically just looked at this blob and thought to myself, I see a bunny, like a bunny kind of hunched down with its ears overlapping behind its head, and that color in there, that sort of green color, that is the sheen on the ink. The ink that I used, when it really pools, it concentrates into what's called a sheening color. That's a totally different color from the basic color of the ink. And this one just happens to be a very beautiful color. It's called Star Ruby, and it was a gift sent to me in a sample by my dear friend Stephanie Davis here on YouTube. And I love this ink. It is so, so pretty. So I just gave it a little fluffy tail, and I kind of worked with where the pooling was and didn't try to impose on myself being remotely perfect or even good. I just wanted it to be cute. And so this is the first bunny. And once I made one bunny, I decided this whole page was going to be bunnies. And that also made it a little bit easier because I could just see where would I need to fill something out to make it look more like a bunny. You can probably already see here where this is going to look like a bunny. Like there, I just did its little floopy tail. But I wonder, as you're watching this, just think to yourself, where would I have put the face? What would I have done differently? And look at these blobs the same way that I was looking at these blobs, which is to say, as a potential for something. Maybe you wouldn't have seen a bunny. Maybe you would have seen something totally different. But as you're watching this video, it would be really cool for you to pause before my pen touches down and think about where you would have seen what. And like, even as I'm watching this, I'm seeing a different bunny. Like, I wouldn't have done it where it's kind of from above and you can see both eyes. I just would have done one eye on the side, much bigger. This bunny here in the middle, I think looked the most bunny-ish from the beginning. Like, I think I could have stopped right there and it would look like a bunny, but I didn't stop right there, and I don't love how it came out. I feel like I messed it up. Like, the more I did, the worse it got. So definitely the pressure to make it arty or make it harder so that it feels like you earned calling it a drawing or something like that. I don't know if you all ever feel that way, but I totally put that pressure on myself that I can't just put one or two lines down and it looks good, leave it and walk away. Sandy Hester is an artist here on YouTube who does a really good job of that. She never overworks her paintings, or if she does, I never see it. It looks like she has a really great willingness, especially in her sketchbook work, to stop while she's ahead and just put a few, slap some paint down, slap a few lines down there. It starts to look good. She moves on. She's on to the next page. And that's probably why she feels like 60 sketchbooks at a time. I don't even know. It's amazing what she does and how prolific she is. So don't do as I say, not as I do. I wish I had taken the pressure off myself with these a little bit. And the other bunnies, I did do a good job of that, but that middle blue bunny, I really just kept working on it and messing it up for myself. So you've seen that I add a little water sometimes to round things out and put things where I want them. This is the one where I decided to use watercolor to do the refining on that top right. Gosh, what color was that? It was like midnight blue, which is her Payne's gray. So I did another little round circle for the head, and then I filled it in with gold gel pen. But it was so much fun. This whole page was super relaxing. Even this middle bunny that, as you can see, you know I'm having regrets if you see me lifting. That's what I was doing there. But I loved how this pink bunny came out. I absolutely loved how that teal colored bunny in the top left came out. Those were my two favorites of all the bunnies. And that one right there in the background, the green bunny, greenish turquoise bunny, was definitely the easiest bunny, but it's one of my top two. So that just goes to show you that doing more doesn't necessarily mean doing better. I just wanted to share that tidbit with you. But what I want you to do is think about how you could get a sketchbook out right now. What materials do you have? Do you have markers? Do you have just straight up Crayola super tip markers? You know, the kind you can get 50 for 10 bucks at any Walmart or something like that. Whatever you have. Do you have cheapo watercolor? Do you have fancy gouache? Do you have fancy acrylic gouache? Do you have acrylic paint? Do you have oil paint? Would you be willing to do something like this in your sketchbook with fancy oil paint and just put blobs down there and let your eye tell you what you see? And I just feel like it's so relaxing. It was so much fun to just move paint around. It was so fast. It was so low pressure. The only thing that put any pressure on this was the fact that I knew I was making a video for you. If I didn't know I was making a video for YouTube and I thought no one was ever going to see this, I wouldn't even have put pressure on myself with that middle blue bunny. That poor blue bunny, that was the only source of stress on this whole page. So I just want you to know that's my own issue with knowing that you're going to see this. But look how cool this page turned out. It's not even done yet, but I loved how this page turned out, from those little blobs of color to these actual drawings of cute bunnies. It was so much fun. I feel like this is a great activity that you can do with a bunch of different materials. Maybe even set yourself a challenge of filling 4 or 5 pages in a row with 4 or 5 different types of mediums if you have that many. And if not, then just with a certain color scheme. Like I said, you could just pick greens and do different dilution levels, different water levels to fill the page. But set a challenge up for yourself, whether it is a timed challenge where you just do one page like I did, but you have a timer on and you do not spend more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes from when it's dry to when you're done. I feel like you could do so much with this challenge. And I know it's similar to what a lot of people do. It's not like I'm the first person to think of this or to invent this. Because when I was first learning, I would look at people like CC Creations, and she would do a lot of these sort of blobs of color and break out a micron pen and doodle over the color. She makes whole doodle books where she does the blobs in advance, sticks the sketchbook with the blobs in her purse and a pen, and she's ready to go and doodle on the go. But I've never really been the person that does this regularly. This is one of the tools in my toolkit that I bust out when I do not have time to even do one of my fast 30-minute creatures, or when I just don't have the emotional and mental wherewithal to expect something to look good. Because when I sit down to do even like a half an hour chameleon or a half an hour bunny or koala or doggy or kitten or something, I still want it to look cute at the end. And with this page, even though some of these turned out cute, some of them turned out really weird. And some of them were not the kind of thing that I would be super proud to show around, but man, were they fun to make. And I think this whole page looks really good together, and I love turning to this page in my sketchbook now. So definitely give this a try. The mentality of I'm just looking at clouds, what do I see, and then just kind of go with it is a really fun approach to take the pressure off, but keep you using your sketchbook and using your materials when you're either too sick or too busy or too mentally, my goodness, like worn down with everything else in your life to try to come up with a full piece. So I hope this was really helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment for me of which bunny was your favorite. And definitely tell me if you saw something other than a bunny in any of these blobs. If you liked this video, please also think about subscribing. It really helps me out. I love when I see the subscriber count grow and I feel like I'm making new friends. Until next time, remember, create something cute.